visibility is the key element that I think we need to think about, and they're not visible for two reasons. One, because they don't feel that they can make themselves visible for all sorts of really complex psychodynamic reasons, but also because we live in a society that tells them that they don't exist.
The majority of services are now acknowledging that men can be victims, but that's sort of as far as it goes. And it's sort of like the exceptionally vulnerable man, and that, whereas this person, men can be raped or sexually violated too, but they sort of are the exception to the rule generally. And I think that we're not challenging the definitions that sort of Michael's talking about masculinity and about sexual violence. Actually, in the way that we discuss men as victims, I think we're sort of furthering that divide.
In the last 2 months, the Crown Prosecution Service issued their Violence Against Women and Girls Sexual Violence Report, in which they talk with great pride about 117,000 prosecutions for cases of adult sexual violence in the UK. This is all under the banner of violence against women and girls. 18,000 of those 117,000 were men. They got 2 lines about 17 pages into the document saying, oh, by the way, 18,000 of these people were men.
Because there's silence around sexual violence in our society as a whole, but I think it's just something that isn't, I think the thought of men being vulnerable is not something that people sit with easily in our society still. And so it's very uncomfortable for them to put themselves into a position where they're imagining that.
This plays out in the courtroom as well. One of my experiences, there were 7 victims of this perpetrator, and I think every single male victim, every single one, was asked, why didn't you fight back? You're a man, why didn't you punch him? So it was assumed that because men are supposedly physically stronger, that if they didn't physically fight back, obviously the same will play out with women, but I think it's exacerbated with men, then that consent was there. And in the end, the guy was found not guilty. And I think the fact that there were 7 male victims, I think the jury had the same kind of reaction, the 3-second thing. They were almost like, this is less believable because it's 7 men.
And I think it's probably just quickly worth saying how deeply I think that goes into our culture and our conversations around sexual abuse. You can, if you switch on, Alibi or whatever, in a day you're probably going to see a drama in which the rape or sexual assault of a woman is treated as drama, and it's, the depiction is often hugely problematic, but it exists. The same really can't be said of sexual violence against particularly adult men, but also boys, I think.